I'm Grayson. I'm Ethan.
I'm James.
And we are
the Sister Squad.
We are the
What's up, guys? We're back. No, we're not. We're back!
Back in 2018, YouTube was a whole different world. A chaotic yet golden age where fandoms ran wild and creators were constantly stirring the pot. Among the many personalities who dominated the scene, Emma Chamberlain and the Dolan Twins stood at the center of one of the most intense internet microscopes. Enter the Sister Squad, a collaboration of Emma, Ethan, Grayson Dolan, and James Charles that felt like an online fever dream of Gen Z worship. But let's get real. For fans, the real obsession wasn't the group dynamic. It was the whispers of romance brewing between Emma and Ethan. Now, years later, Emma's podcast has thrown a fuel on a long, cold fire, and the internet, predictably, is losing its collective mind. Fast forward to today, and Ethan Dolan is off the market, married, and living a life far removed from his days as a one and a half of the YouTube's Golden Twins. Meanwhile, Emma has carved out her own niche as a podcaster and a coffee connoisseur, rarely looking back on those whirlwind years of viral stardom. But leave it to TikTok's investigative arm to dig up an old episode of Emma's podcast that reignited the Ethan and Emma rumors. Suddenly, that long-buried relationship is back in the spotlight, with fans discussing every word Emma said like it's a PhD thesis on YouTuber drama. Let's break it down. In this particular podcast episode, Emma got candid about her first romantic relationship, describing how it mentally and emotionally wrecked her.
Myself, in my own mental stability, and now I'm here, where I'm doing stuff that's out of character and reaching a breaking point.
The internet, being the internet, immediately put two and two together, declaring this has got to be about Ethan. Cue the TikTok detectives.
Emma Chamberlain has finally opened up about her relationship with Ethan Dolan on her podcast.
Clips of the episode went viral, with fans declaring that this was a closure they've been waiting for since the Sister Squad disbanded. Never mind that this episode originally aired months ago, when a YouTube channel repackaged it as How My First Boyfriend Broke Me Mentally and Emotionally. It was like throwing gasoline on a dormant flame. For years, Emma and Ethan's relationship was a game of internet cat and mouse. Neither confirmed they were dating, but fans weren't exactly subtle in their sleuthing. They pointed to blurry Polaroids on Emma's wall, later mysteriously blurred in a video. They dissected their appearances together, from SoulCycle sessions to paparazzi snaps by Hollywood Fix, like they were decoding a spy thriller. Every little clue was a treasure chest of speculation, fueling a ship that neither party ever publicly acknowledged. And yet, here we are, years later, with Emma indirectly spilling details that fans have clung to for dear life. In the podcast, Emma's recounting of her first relationship wasn't exactly sunshine and rainbows. She described the emotional toll it took, detailing how it pushed her to the brink. For fans, this isn't just relatable, it was confirmation of what they'd always suspected, that behind the laughs and collabs, there was a messy, complicated relationship playing out in private. TikTok, in all its dramatic glory, crowned this revelation as the tea we've been waiting for. With fans reminiscing about their teenage years, obsessing over every little interaction between Emma and Ethan. Of course, this sudden resurgence of interest in Emma and Ethan's past has brought out mixed reactions. Some fans are nostalgic, treating this like a long-last chapter of their adolescence finally coming full circle. Others, though, are calling out the parasocial weirdness of it all. Let's be honest, the obsession with their supposed relationship was never healthy. These were teenagers navigating fame, friendship, and perhaps a secret romance, all under the scrutiny of millions. The internet's unrelenting need for answers, even now, feels like a reminder of just how invasive fandom culture can be. But Emma, ever the master of understated shade, didn't explicitly name names in her podcast. She's moved on, and Ethan clearly has too. Yet here we are dissecting every syllable, every pause, every possible hint she might have dropped. It's a strange phenomenon. A relationship that was never confirmed has lived rent-free in the minds of fans for over half a decade. And now, thanks to a repurposed podcast clip, it's all anyone can talk about again. Imagine being 17 and falling head over heels for someone you think is your soulmate. Sounds poetic, right? Well, buckle up, because this tale of first love hits every cliche and still manages to leave us rolling our eyes. She meets this guy, falls madly in love, and suddenly the world revolves around this relationship. 9 months, yes, just 9, felt like an eternity to her. A seismic chapter in her teenage diary of doom and gloom. When it ended, you'd think the sky fell. To her credit, she admits this was the saddest moment of her life up to that point, which, looking back, might have been a sign she'd had a pretty smooth ride until then. But the breakup, oh, it gutted her. And what did she do to cope? Enter Soul Cycle. Yes, spinning her way through heartbreak, sweating out those feelings with the fervor of someone who just discovered the endorphin high. Somewhere in the mess, she and the guy started talking again. That's where things get predictable. Rumors swirled that they'd been spotted together at, you'd guessed it, Soul Cycle. Because nothing says unresolved feelings like pedaling side by side while trying not to cry during the Katy Perry remix. Now, here's where it gets juicy. The guy, let's call him Mr. Commitment Issues, didn't want to date again. Oh no, he wanted to keep things casual, hook up, no strings attached. Cue her inner turmoil. She couldn't bear the thought of him being with others while they were doing whatever it is they were doing, so naturally they hooked up anyway. Chemistry, right? It just happens, she says, but each time she found out he was with someone else, it would crush her. The cycle repeated itself until it spiraled into a messy heap of tears, hopes, and more spinning classes. Eventually, Mr. Commitment Issues dangles a shiny new carrot, exclusivity. She jumps for joy, literally. He says it so casually, and she's all in, thinking this is her second chance. But oh, plot twist. The very next day, he ghosts her, like completely stops responding.
And then he kind of stopped talking to me. Like literally the next day, he just kind of stopped talking to me. I was like, what? We're exclusive. What? We're exclusive again. I thought, what's happening? He's like not responding to my text. He like doesn't want to hang out. I'm like,
she's baffled, trying to piece it together, thinking maybe his phone fell into the Bermuda Triangle or something. When she finally corners him, he admits he doesn't want to be exclusive anymore. Shocker. So she lets him have it, tears him a new one, and slams the phone down in frustration. Weeks pass. She's furious, but also still hooked. When he texts her again, it sends her spiraling into an internal debate worthy of its own reality show. Should she respond? Should she block him? Should she throw her phone out the window? She settles on the later, and with an epiphany mid-meltdown, a soulmate shouldn't make you want to destroy your own belongings. That's the bar, apparently. She realizes she's stuck in this toxic loop, unable to fully break free from his psychological grip. She likens it to something out of a case study, which honestly might not be far off. And while she claims she's never felt this way about anyone again, we're left wondering if that's growth or just exhaustion. Either way, it's a wild ride that's equal parts cringe and catharsis. Let's talk brain folds and decisions that could rival a Greek tragedy. Imagine this. You finally managed to untangle yourself from someone who wasn't just living rent-free in your head, but had redecorated the place to their liking.
He texts me, hey, and I'm faced with a very, very challenging decision. Am I going to respond to him and reopen this wound that was finally healing.
Then, just when the dust is settling, they hit you with a casual, hey, innocent, sure, but we all know the single word is a grenade disguised as a feather. Do you respond and let the chaos crawl back in, or do you hit the mute button and walk away for good? Spoiler alert, there's no easy answer. Our protagonist wrestles with this question like it's a championship match. But instead of reaching for closure, they reach for their phone, a digital Pandora's box, and immediately regret every decision that led him there. Cue the dad, the voice of reason, the beacon of you already know better. He doesn't mince words. Don't do it, he says, probably a dozen times, because sometimes wisdom needs repetition to sink in. And yet, knowing what's right doesn't make it easier. It's the emotional equivalent of ripping off a band-aid, but in slow motion. Things escalate. There's a phone toss, not a gentle one, and the device shatters. A wake-up call? Absolutely. When you're standing over your broken phone, you realize something. This isn't you. This isn't how you handle things. It's the kind of moment that screams, get it together, louder than any lecture could. Now, here's where it gets wild. This whole saga didn't play out in private. Fans started doing what fans do best, digging. The timeline, 2018. The suspect, a secret relationship, a music video, and some seriously tangled emotional threads. Enter the Dolan Twins and a video that's now being dissected like it holds the secrets to the universe. People aren't just watching the video, they're analyzing outfits, decoding aesthetics, and connecting dots that maybe shouldn't be connected. The revelation, the leading lady in the video, who happens to be Ethan's now wife, was allegedly channeling someone else's vibe. Coincidence? Fans say no. Drama? Absolutely. Let's pause here. Emma watched all this unfold in real time and realizing that not only did your ex move on, but he's practically set up shop in your aesthetic. Oh, and he danced to that very song at his wedding. If it feels like a soap opera, that's because it is. Only this one involves real people and real heartbreak. Social media went predictably wild. Comments ranged from, how did she survive this, to men are the worst. Some called it the ultimate betrayal, while others just marveled at the sheer messiness of it all. And yet, here's the kicker. Everyone involved seems perfectly fine now. New relationships, new lives, new chapters. But does that make the retrospect drama any less juicy? Not a chance. Looking back, it's clear why this story has people hooked. It's not just about a failed relationship. It's about the layers, the what-ifs, and the emotional landmines we are all trying to avoid. It's a reminder that healing isn't linear, that closure isn't guaranteed, and that sometimes the best thing you can do is let the phone shatter and move on. Emma and Ethan, was it real or are we still chasing ghosts? Drop your thoughts below and don't forget to like and subscribe.